Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to the channel. Every week we bring you emotional, heartwarming stories about family, sacrifice, and unexpected acts of kindness that remind us the world still has good people in it. Now let's begin. The bakery smelled of warm cinnamon, fresh bread, and sweet vanilla frosting. It was the kind of place where laughter usually echoed through the room as families picked birthday cakes, children pressed their noses against the glass display, and parents argued playfully over which flavor to choose. But on this rainy Thursday afternoon, the cheerful atmosphere couldn't hide the sadness standing at the counter. David Carter, a 38-year-old single father, had only stopped in to collect the birthday cake he had ordered for his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Since losing his wife 5 years earlier, birthdays had become sacred traditions. He worked 2 jobs to make sure Lily never felt the emptiness that had entered their home after her mother's passing. Every birthday was his promise that joy would always find a way back into their lives. As he waited near the register, David noticed a woman standing quietly in front of the cashier. She looked exhausted. Her dark brown hair was loosely tied back, her gray blazer was slightly wrinkled, and she clutched a small pink cake box order receipt so tightly it looked ready to tear. Beside her stood a little boy, no older than 7, holding a paper birthday hat decorated with cartoon dinosaurs. His hopeful eyes stayed fixed on the bakery display where colorful cakes sparkled beneath the lights. The cashier offered a gentle smile. "Your custom cake is ready, ma'am." The woman lowered her head. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I have to cancel the order." The cashier blinked in surprise. "Cancel it? It's already finished." "I know. The total is $84. The woman swallowed hard before speaking again. "I don't have it." Silence settled across the bakery. The little boy looked up at his mother. "Mom, are we still having my birthday today?" She forced a smile that broke David's heart. "Of course we are, sweetheart. But the dinosaur cake?" She knelt beside him, brushing his hair back. "I'm so sorry." David watched the little boy nod, trying to be brave even though disappointment filled his face. Instead of crying, the child simply whispered, "It's okay, Mom. We can just have sandwiches." That single sentence hit David harder than he expected. No child should have to comfort their own parent on their birthday. He looked down at the beautiful princess cake sitting inside the large white box prepared for Lily. Then he glanced back at the bakery staff carefully lifting an enormous green dinosaur cake from the refrigerator. Bright frosting. Chocolate rocks. Tiny edible trees. The words "Happy Birthday, Ethan" written perfectly across the top. The woman apologized repeatedly to the staff. "I lost my job last week," she admitted quietly. "Rent is due tomorrow. My son doesn't know yet. I thought I'd be able to pay after selling some furniture online, but nobody came." The cashier looked genuinely sorry. "I understand. I'll pay for it somehow next week. I'm afraid company policy doesn't allow us to hold custom cakes." The manager stepped forward. "If payment can't be made today, we'll have to dispose of it." Dispose of it. David couldn't believe what he had heard. The little boy stared at the cake one last time before lowering his head. "Bye, dinosaur." Those 2 tiny words echoed through the bakery like thunder. David suddenly remembered another birthday years ago. Lily had just turned 4. His wife had surprised them both with a homemade strawberry cake. It leaned slightly to one side because she'd laughed so hard decorating it that the frosting melted unevenly. It wasn't perfect. It was unforgettable. 3 months later, she was gone forever. David had promised himself that if he ever had the chance to make another child smile the way Lily smiled that day, he would never ignore it. Without thinking any longer, he stepped toward the counter. "Excuse me." Everyone turned. The woman quickly wiped away her tears, embarrassed that strangers had witnessed everything. David smiled politely. "How much is the cake again?" The cashier answered. $84. "I'll take care of it." The woman immediately shook her head. "No. It's okay. I can't accept that. You don't know me." David nodded. "You're right." She tried to smile through the tears. I appreciate your kindness, but I can't let a stranger spend that much money. David looked at Ethan. The little boy had already stopped looking at the cake. Instead, he stared at the floor as though he'd convinced himself birthdays simply weren't important anymore. David crouched beside him. Hey, buddy. The boy looked up. What kind of dinosaur is your favorite? His eyes brightened for the first time. T-Rex. Really? He nodded excitedly. Because they're brave. David smiled. I think you're pretty brave too. The little boy grinned. For just a moment. Then the smile disappeared again. David stood and placed his bank card on the counter. I'll pay. The woman gently pushed the card back toward him. No. Please. David didn't argue. Instead, he quietly asked one question. When's his birthday? She looked confused. Today. And how old is he? 7. David looked toward the bakery window where rain continued falling across the empty street. He remembered Lily waiting at school that very moment, excited to celebrate with balloons, pizza, and cake that evening. Then he looked back at Ethan. There was no excitement. Only quiet acceptance. David took a slow breath before speaking. What if this isn't charity? The woman frowned. What do you mean? What if today someone simply keeps a promise that every child deserves a birthday they'll remember? Before she could answer, the bakery door suddenly opened. A sharply dressed man stepped inside, looked around the shop, and his eyes landed directly on David. His expression changed instantly. Mr. Carter? David turned in surprise. You! The woman looked from one man to the other, completely confused. She had no idea that the stranger offering to buy her son's birthday cake was hiding a secret that would change all three of their lives forever. The silence inside the bakery grew heavy as the well-dressed man walked toward David with a look of genuine respect. He extended his hand without hesitation. Mr. Carter, he said warmly, I didn't expect to see you here. David smiled modestly and shook his hand. Neither did I. The woman stood frozen, unsure what was happening. The bakery manager stepped forward, equally confused. Do you two know each other? The man nodded. Very well. My name is Michael Harrison. 3 years ago, when my construction company was on the verge of bankruptcy, every bank turned me away. Mr. Carter was the only person who believed in my business plan. He approved a small loan when everyone else saw only risk. That loan saved over 100 employees from losing their jobs. David immediately tried to interrupt. Michael, you don't have to tell that story. But Michael smiled. Actually, I do. Because people should know what kind of man you are. He turned toward the woman. This man changes lives quietly. He never asks for recognition. The woman's eyes widened. She had assumed David was just another customer. She never imagined he was someone whose kindness had already transformed so many lives. Michael looked at the bakery manager. What's the total for the cake? $84. Michael reached for his wallet, but David gently stopped him. I already offered. Michael smiled. Then let me help with the birthday party instead. Before anyone could respond, he pulled out his phone. Within minutes he had called a nearby pizza restaurant owned by another friend whose business David had once helped save. Send 6 large pizzas to the community park by 6 o'clock, Michael instructed. My treat. Then he made another call to a local party supply store. Balloons, decorations, candles, and gift bags were arranged before the conversation even ended. The woman covered her mouth with both hands, unable to believe what she was witnessing. Why? She whispered through tears. Why would complete strangers do all this for us? David looked at Ethan, who was still staring at the dinosaur cake in disbelief. Because birthdays shouldn't disappear just because life becomes difficult. Tears rolled down the woman's cheeks. My name is Sarah, she said softly. I'm so embarrassed. David shook his head. There's nothing embarrassing about loving your son enough to put rent before cake. Sarah admitted that after losing her marketing job 2 weeks earlier, every interview had ended with polite rejection emails. She had spent every remaining dollar on groceries, hoping something would work out before Ethan's birthday. When it didn't, canceling the cake became her only option. Ethan quietly walked over to David. "Mister," he said, "are you sure I can really have the dinosaur cake?" David smiled. "I think that dinosaur has been waiting for you all day." For the first time, Ethan laughed, a bright, genuine laugh that filled the bakery. Even the employees couldn't stop smiling. Several customers who had watched everything unfold quietly began adding cash into a tip jar on the counter. One elderly woman walked over carrying a wrapped present she had just purchased from the gift shop next door. "Every birthday boy deserves at least one surprise," she said, handing it to Ethan. Another customer offered ice cream vouchers for the entire family. Within 20 minutes, what had begun as the saddest moment of the day had become a celebration of unexpected kindness. That evening, the small community park was transformed. Colorful balloons danced in the breeze. Children from the neighborhood joined the celebration after hearing there was a birthday party. Ethan ran from game to game wearing a paper dinosaur crown, laughing louder than anyone else. Sarah watched him from a nearby bench, tears filling her eyes once again. David sat beside her holding a cup of coffee. "He's happy," Sarah whispered. "I haven't seen him smile like this since his father left 2 years ago." David nodded quietly. "Kids don't remember expensive gifts as much as they remember who showed up." Sarah smiled. "You must be an incredible father." David looked across the park where Lily had just arrived with one of his neighbors. She immediately joined Ethan, and within minutes the two children were pretending to escape dinosaurs together. "I just try every day," David answered honestly. As the birthday candles were lit, everyone gathered around the cake. Ethan closed his eyes. "Make a wish," Sarah reminded him. The little boy smiled before blowing out every candle in one breath. Everyone clapped loudly. David leaned over and asked, "Can you tell me what you wish for?" Ethan grinned. "If I tell you, it won't come true." David laughed. "Fair enough." A week later, David received an unexpected phone call at work. It was Michael Harrison again. "I need you to come by my office," he said. When David arrived, Sarah was sitting in the conference room wearing a business suit instead of the tired clothes she'd worn at the bakery. Michael smiled. "One of our senior marketing managers accepted a position in another state yesterday. Sarah's interview was outstanding." Sarah stood, smiling through happy tears. "I got the job." David couldn't have been happier. But Sarah wasn't finished. "There's something else." She placed a small envelope on the table. Inside was $84 in cash along with a handwritten note. "Kindness is never forgotten, but it should always be passed forward." David looked up. "You didn't have to repay me." Sarah smiled. "I'm not repaying the money." She gently pushed the envelope back toward him. "I'm asking you to give this to the next parent who thinks they have to cancel their child's birthday." David couldn't speak for several seconds. Finally, he nodded. "I promise." Months later, the bakery displayed a small framed sign near the register. It simply read, "Every child deserves a birthday. If you're struggling, please talk to us first." Someone has already paid kindness forward. No names. No photographs. Just a reminder that one small act of compassion can inspire countless others. Ethan never forgot the stranger who bought his birthday cake. Sarah never forgot the day Hope walked into a bakery wearing an ordinary jacket and carrying extraordinary kindness. And David went home that evening knowing something his late wife had always believed: when one person chooses compassion over convenience, the ripple of that decision can reach people they may never even meet. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more emotional and inspiring stories about family, hope, second chances, and the incredible power of kindness. Until next time, remember, sometimes the smallest act of generosity becomes the biggest gift someone will ever receive.